Metroid Prime 4 for the longest time felt like a game that was never going to come out. It was revealed at the first E3 of the Switch 1 era, and we are now in the first year of the Switch 2 era. But after 8 years, with development resetting and changing teams, going back to Retro Studios, which I don't really know why they weren't working on the game in the first place, but lo and behold, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is finally here, and after finishing it, it was well worth the wait. But let's talk about it. Hi guys, MiiKcast here reviewing today Metroid Prime 4. Now before we get started, you know what to do. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, and hit the bell, leave a comment, or I will freeze you for 8 years. First thing I gotta mention is, of course, the gameplay. It plays very much like how you'd expect a Metroid Prime to play. There's certain abilities you unlock throughout the game, like certain types of shots you can make, or certain things you can do in Morph Ball mode. All the typical Metroid stuff is present in Prime 4. And I'd say you got 3 major abilities. One being Morph Ball, obviously. That's in almost every Metroid game, Prime or not, where you get to turn into a little ball and go through small spaces to find a power-up or just progress through the level. But then this game introduces psychic abilities. This is really cool as you use it to scan things, solve puzzles, or in some cases, damage enemies and bosses. Not too often, but you could do that. It's really cool, and yes, admittedly, these abilities are very similar to those in prior Prime games, just with a psychic skin over it. But it's still cool. Then there's one more thing, but I want to get to that a bit later. Before I do that, I want to talk about the exploration and puzzles, as the former is like a Metroidvania. Obviously, it's literally a Metroid game, so if you expected anything else, what were you expecting? It's the typical one big interconnected world, and elements like you see a path that's blocked, and you can't unblock it, but then later on you unlock a certain ability that lets you open up that path. That typical Metroidvania stuff, and it was cool. As for the puzzles, they were fun too. Almost Zelda-like in many ways. It's Zelda-like in other ways too, but before I get there, there's the environments. They look really good, which I'll get to the visuals in a little bit, but aesthetically, the environments look amazing. From the forest Fury Green to the more dark, rainy area that is Volt Forge, you got Ice Belt, Flare Pool, all of them look really fucking cool. But then there's Soul Valley, which I have some hang-ups about that, but I will say, aimlessly driving around Soul Valley, collecting the green gems is a lot of fun, and it looks really good, which is something that it seems like most people weren't a big fan of, but I liked it. But what's that? I said driving? Yup, that brings me to the third ability of Metroid Prime 4. I told you I'd get to it. Viola, or Viola. I'll say Viola, fuck you. That's right, Samus rides a motorcycle in this game. For a while, I sort of just called it the Samus cycle. Not that that's important, but I just felt like mentioning that. But honestly, driving Viola feels really cool. It gives an amount of freedom that wasn't present in previous Prime games. You don't just use it in Soul Valley though, as you can use it in basically any area. Controlling it always felt super nice, and you can even fight enemies with it as you can shoot at them. Viola is a neat addition to Metroid Prime 4, simply put. But when driving around Soul Valley, you'll encounter shrines. And that is also where this game takes inspiration from Zelda. I'm not just calling them shrines, by the way, the game straight up does that. And this is really cool. They are mainly optional. You can theoretically go through the entire game without doing a single shrine, but if you do them, you unlock upgrades to your abilities, and there's green crystals all throughout, which come into play later. The boss fights were fucking sick too. There were a couple I didn't like. One was like, wait 4 fucking minutes for the boss to get tired so you can attack his weak spot, which was pretty frustrating, but they were few and far between. Most of the boss fights were awesome. Even if I struggled a bit, I still thought in the back of my mind, this is pretty cool. I also really like how you can play this game with the Joy-Con mouse controls and almost play it like a keyboard and mouse shooter. I didn't do that, but I do think it's cool. And plus you can use gyro aiming and all that, which I also think is neat. Then we gotta talk about Metroid Prime 4 on a technical aspect. Keep in mind, by the way, I played this game on a Switch 2, so what I'm about to say about the game's visuals and performance won't really apply if you play this on Switch 1, although I heard that version ain't too shabby either. But my god, does this game look amazing! I remember when I reviewed Mario Kart World, and I called it Nintendo's best looking game ever, and I meant that, but I think Prime 4 has quickly claimed that title. You can actually choose between performance mode or quality mode, like a lot of games nowadays, but not too common for Nintendo games. I actually got to see both, although I mainly played in quality mode, which was 4K 60, while performance mode was 1080p 120. It is absolutely stunning either way, and one of the best looking games of the year, Nintendo or not. And then there's also the music. I feel like Metroid music is often hit or miss, not in a bad way, like not some are good, some are bad, more in the sense that some games have more forgettable soundtracks than others. Not this one though. Metroid Prime 4's OST is great. From the ambient yet epic sound of Fury Green, to a more impending doom sound of Volt Forge, to Sylux's theme, the music slaps. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention that Sylux is in this game as like the main villain, and he's so cool. And that is a perfect way to describe Metroid Prime 4 Beyond as a whole.
What was that? Okay, that did not sound friendly.
Moving on to the things I'm more mixed on, I alluded to Soul Valley being something I'm a bit torn on, and sure, I found it fun to aimlessly drive around Soul Valley and go to the shrines and collect green crystals, and that was all good. But driving around Soul Valley was basically the only way to get from one area to another, and I do kind of wish at some moments I could have used fast travel. There is no fast travel in this game, and again, it was fun to go around Soul Valley, but sometimes fast travel would have been nice. Especially like towards the end where I kind of had to grind the crystals in order to basically beat the game. Like some areas had more green crystals than others, so it just would have been nice to quickly travel through there. I still have other issues with Soul Valley, but we'll get to that later. I'm sure you can figure out what it is. Another thing that I praised in the good, but I think is worth mentioning here in the mix, is the fact that Metroid Prime 4 is just Metroid Prime. People were a bit hard on this game because after 20 years since the last Prime game, they expected this one to evolve a bit. It really doesn't. It adds an open world in Soul Valley, but that is mainly it. Even like the psychic abilities, even though they're cool, they are kind of reskinned abilities from previous games. But I'd argue this game just being Metroid Prime, what's wrong with that? Metroid Prime is legendary, so Prime 4 being just another Prime game isn't as bad as it sounds. However, I do get where people are coming from. You know, maybe it could have evolved a bit more than just add an open world. And lastly, for the mixed, something you all probably expected to be in the bad, but I'm throwing it in the mixed, and that's Miles McKenzie. The conversation around this game shifted quite a bit once Miles was shown in the preview footage, and look, is he kind of annoying? Yes. Does he heavily contrast with the overall quiet and dark tone of Metroid Prime? Yes. But is he in the game that much? No, not really. There's the part where you meet him, and then throughout the game you meet back up with him for various things, and he'll also call you on the radio when you're in Soul Valley, but that's about it. Yes, Miles McKenzie is inherently out of place in a Metroid Prime game, but doesn't ruin the game that much. Moving on to the bad, first off, the motion controls. Now you can use gyro aiming with the Joy-Cons as I mentioned earlier, which I think is cool, but that's not what I mean. I played Metroid Prime 4 with a Pro controller, and when you aim, your like tracker thing, the like reticule you got, whatever you call it, will move around if you move your Pro controller even a little bit. I'm sure there is a way to turn this off. In fact, I heard there was, but I looked all throughout the settings and I just couldn't find the option. So maybe that's a dumb moment from me, but either way, it's annoying that this is on by default. Another thing I didn't like, and kinda never got used to, was the way you mount the bike. What button would you think you press to do that? Did you say the plus button? 'Cause you'd be correct. The plus button does not pause the game, the minus button does. Instead, the plus button is used to mount your bike. that is weird. And there were times where I wanted to mount my bike, but I just instinctively pressed like literally anything other than plus, because anything else would make more sense than that. And lastly, perhaps the shittiest thing that Metroid Prime 4 Beyond does, it's more something shitty that Nintendo does, to be fair, but it is the thing I alluded to earlier about Soul Valley, in that as much as I enjoyed driving around Soul Valley, it is sort of drab and there's no like background music. You are sort of just driving around a giant desert. But there is a way to unlock music for Soul Valley. Either you can scan everything in the game, which, you know, so basically 100% the game, or the quicker way, buy a $30 amiibo. I'm not kidding. They locked a simple feature of music during a section of the game behind an amiibo. And look, I love amiibo. I'm still trying to be a completionist with those things. But this is fucking dumb. And the thing is, if you only unlock the music by scanning everything and it wasn't locked behind an amiibo paywall, I actually don't think people would care too much. People would be like, that's really weird. Why would you lock something as simple as background music behind basically 100%ing the game? But now that's fucking stupid. Why did you lock something as simple as background music behind a $30 paywall? And this is really dumb no matter what way you splice it. But it's more frustrating because amiibos are more pricey than they've ever been, and way more than they should be as well. As much as I love amiibo, I'm not spending $30 fucking on a Samus amiibo. Despite its, faults that I mentioned, I still really enjoyed Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, and I think more so than most people did. It got many 8 out of 10s, which, let's not go with this dumb bullshit narrative that an 8 out of 10 is bad, but I enjoyed a lot of what others didn't, mainly Soul Valley. But aside from that, the exploration, the abilities, the Zelda-like puzzles, the boss fights, the music, and my god those visuals, I think Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is well worth the wait. The title may not be exactly accurate, as perhaps this game doesn't quite go beyond Metroid Prime, and it's also probably the least good of the 4 mainline Prime games, but a not as good Metroid Prime game is still better than a lot of other games. In the end, I give Metroid Prime 4 Beyond a 9 out of 10. Well, that'll do it for this review, and unless something comes out of nowhere in the next few weeks, that'll do it for the game reviews on this channel for the year. My final game review of the year was Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, and I want to know what you guys think, because the discourse surrounding this game has been interesting, and I just want to know what you all think. Do you guys like the game? Do you guys not like the game? If you guys played the game, not played the game, and if you haven't played the game yet, do you guys want to play it, not want to play it? Anything about Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, let me know down below. Anyways, be sure to like this video, comment, subscribe, or I will freeze you for 8 years.